Welcome to this Wednesday afternoon's thought. It's not always easy to keep going when you don't know where it is you're going. I just wanted to share a few thoughts about Abraham. As we know, he got called to go to a strange land. But there's a Puritan preacher from the 17th century, and he says there's three types of people. He says there's the intender, he says there's the endeavourer, and there's the performer. And Terah, who was Abraham's dad, was an intender. He intended to go to the Canaan, to the promised land. So he left Ur of Chaldeans, got as far as Haran, and he stopped and he settled, and he actually died there. He didn't get any further. He intended to go to Canaan, but he didn't make it. And then the endeavourer, well, Lot journeyed with them, and he was a sort of an endeavourer. He went so far, but because of lack of faith, he didn't go in the ways that God would have him go. So you come to the third group, which is the performer. Now, Abram and Sarah, they were performers. They believed that God would perform the promises that he made. And the call to Abraham was simply this: Abraham, I want you to leave Haran where you are, and I want you to continue that journey to Canaan. It's a destination you don't know anything about. And so Abraham would be quite within his rights to ask, well, how do I get there? He had to trust the Lord. What will it be like when I get there? He had to simply trust the Lord. He didn't know. He just depended on the Lord showing him these things. And it's interesting that there's not a lot of information about the journey that Abraham took. The long, hazardous journey that he went on. Yes, there are bits about the famine and the bits and pieces. But why doesn't God's word dwell on the journey? Well, I think for one reason is that it was the destination that was the important part. It was entering into Canaan that was the important part. So the journey, there's not a lot on it, but there is a lot about the destination. And that's what it's about for us, for a lot of life, really. It's about the destination. Yes, the journey is important, but what was needed was Abraham to keep his eyes fixed firmly upon the Lord that had called him. God had called him, and what God required of him was faithfulness, to trust in the God who would perform in fulfilling his promises. And so, as we know, Abraham did that, and Abraham set off, and Abraham arrived in the promised land. And because Abraham did exactly what the Lord had asked of him, he got blessed. But countless generations of people were also blessed because of his obedience and faith. And that's why he's in Hebrews 11. And Hebrews 11 is that great passage of the Hall of Fame. And Abraham's there because he acted in faith and obedience on the journey to the destination. Well, the Lord might not be asking you today to actually up sticks, leave this nation and go to another country. But there's no doubt about it, we're on a journey. And what will the destination look like? We don't know. Just like Abraham, he didn't know what the destination would be like. We don't know what the destination will be like. What we do know is we're travelling a journey on a pathway that we've never ever travelled before. And so what are we to do? We are to be a performer in terms of we are to keep our eyes fixed upon God, just like Abraham did, and let's journey in faith. Through this time, this long, hazardous journey, we don't know what the destination will look like, but we need to just keep our eyes focused upon God. Let's not be an intender that intended doing it. Let's not be someone who endeavoured on it a little bit, but let's be a performer who trusts in the God to perform all that he has promised. God wants us to be in the right place. Let's journey in faith. Let's not worry about the destination. Let's just journey with the Lord, and he'll take us to the place that he wants us to be. God bless.